Liberty, perhaps having a look at that highest-ranked Group of 5 champion as you look at Clemson also back in the mix.
Yeah, Tulane's sitting at number 23. They have UTSA this week, which is also undefeated. They got a tough schedule moving ahead. When you talk about Liberty sitting right there, they're in striking.
Well, a couple big things in this takeaway, too, though. NC State in the rankings, that helps out Louisville, which could in turn help out Florida State. Clemson back in the rankings, that helps Florida State. It's a win for Florida State on the road. Tennessee in the rankings, too, helping the SEC.
All right, so we got Liberty at 25.
We've now removed
Clemson gets ranked, actually, now.
And just to clarify,
Pretty good for them. Tulane. I see Tulane is there, 23. That's good. Tennessee, yeah, they go down, but not that much. They just lost to number 1. So that's fine. But, yeah.
At number 20,
thanks for joining, everybody.
A couple bad losses on the resume, but still with a great chance to get into the Big 12 championship.
Or Oklahoma State goes up to there, okay.
Iowa.
I don't know about that.
They're in the Big 10 championship.
No doubt, if you look at an Iowa team that's beat Illinois, no matter how you look at it, it wasn't pretty, but they just find a way to continue winning football games. And
then they got Kansas State, number 19. They have a pretty solid season. Iowa drops 1.
Yeah, I look at this.
Oregon State
it's not
drops
so much
to
about the
16.
resume of the teams up at the top 4
I don't know
or
about
5.
that one.
It's the accomplishments of what these teams have done, and the success that these guys
Gotcha.
enjoyed. The big off the radar teams like Kansas State, see Oklahoma State able to get a win and climb back up. Notre Dame potentially finishing at 9-3. All these teams had a great year.
Yeah, K-State, Oklahoma State, as I mentioned, they still have a chance to win the conference. They have to have things fall right on the final weekend of the season to get into that conference championship game. Oklahoma State just needs to win, and they're in. Let's look at the next group. At number 15, Arizona's climb continues. Now, Arizona also can win the Pac-12, and here is how. If Oregon falls to Oregon State and Arizona wins the Territorial Cup against a really struggling Arizona State team, then it would be the Wildcats that would make it into the Pac-12 title.
And look at LSU sitting there at number 14, and we've had this discussion. Florida State beat LSU, and we talk resume. Who's your best friends? When you look at LSU, they're probably the best 3-loss team in the country. Where does the committee see the win that Florida State has against an LSU team that was early in the season when the AP had LSU inside the top 5?
I'm looking at this schedule, too. I'm trying to figure out the justification for dropping Oregon State 5 spots. I mean, I look at all these teams that have slid up. Oregon State sitting there sitting through 11 games at 8-3 with some pretty decent wins at their disposal, and yet they pre-fall. Whereas a team like Tennessee gets absolutely raced in 2 consecutive weeks, they drop 3 spots. So I'm trying to figure out the justification for the significant drop of the Beavers and not the Volunteers.
I hear what you're saying, but some of those teams they might think are just better.
Sure,
Arizona beat them.
Arizona,
So I think that's fair too. So Kirk's clapping. So
I let the committee, whatever, man. They figured it out. They got Oregon State at 16, and we're on to the next panel. This will be a great panel, by the way, next year when we're trying to figure out who did 12, 13, 14, and 15. That's a lot of fun.
Let me ask both of you guys this real quick. We got an hour show tonight. Go on, Oregon.
Play this weekend in Ann Arbor. The way they used to just Apple.
Look at that highest-ranked Group of 5 champion as you look at Clemson also back in the.
Yeah, Tulane's sitting at number 23. They have UTSA this week, which is also undefeated. So they got a tough schedule moving ahead. When you talk about Liberty sitting right there, they're in striking position.
Well, a couple big things in this takeaway, too, though. NC State in the rankings, that helps out Louisville, which could in turn help out Florida State. Clemson back in the rankings. That helps Florida State. That's a win for Florida State on the road. Tennessee in the rankings, too, helping the SEC teams as well. And no Utah.
Moving ahead. When you
Group of 5 champion as you look at Clemson.
Hey, so we got a viewer, baby. Let's go. All right. I guess we'll start it. So, top 25. Here. Top 25. They got Tennessee, or Liberty at 25. Clemson at 24. Tulane is at 23. North Carolina State 22. And Tennessee drops down to 21. All right, so I don't know about that. I mean, I think Clemson honestly deserves to be ranked at this point, but so I think 24 is fine. Liberty 25. I think they could probably be ranked a little higher, but because they are undefeated, but like their schedule's not that good. So, and then Tulane at 23. They have a chance to make the New York Six bowl this year. I think they could. And then NC State ranking up is good for them, I guess, but didn't really expect that. And Tennessee drops, yeah, that makes sense. And Tennessee drops, yeah, that makes sense. And then they got here. They got Oklahoma State at 20, Kansas State at 19, Notre Dame at 18. That's good for Ohio State, actually. And then they got Iowa at 17 and Oregon State at 16. So, yeah. So, yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's good for us, actually. Looking for viewers right now. Sorry. Viewer, baby. Let's go. Come on now. Let's go. All right. So, oh my God. Yes, sir. He joined. I bet. All right, so for the top 25, I got Liberty, and then Clemson goes up, get the ranked. I think that's actually pretty good for them, honestly. I think they deserve that. Like, I don't know. Like, if they didn't start off bad, they'd still be 8-3, which, like, obviously Clemson, everybody thinks playoffs, but this year, I mean, they're still not terrible. I mean, granted, they aren't an easy conference, but whatever. And then Tulane, yeah, you can't really rank them that high because, like, they're still not a Power 5, so a loss is really bad for Power 5 schools. And then North Carolina State, 8-3, it's whatever. They're 22. And Tennessee drops down 3 spots. So that's interesting, but I guess I respect it. Oh, yeah, and Liberty gets ranked now, being 11-0. I think that's a good thing, honestly. I think they deserve that, honestly. And then, yeah, so that's the top 25. And then they got the top 16. Yeah, all of a sudden.
Just make it.
All right, so they got Oklahoma State at 20. And then they got Kansas State at 19, Notre Dame at 18, Iowa at 17, and Oregon at 16. So, I don't know. Oklahoma State, they're honestly probably a little overrated in my opinion. But they still have that win over Oklahoma, so you can't penalize them too much for that. Honestly, like, it's still a good win. And then Kansas State goes up 2 spots to 19. Yeah, Kansas State is pretty solid, man. I mean, it's crazy to think that if they beat Texas a couple of weeks ago, they should not have gone for a on that one play. But if they make that extra point, they legitimately probably should have beat Texas. Like, just think about how different that would be right now. Like, Alabama would be way better chances right now. So that's another thing actually about Alabama. I wonder if they rank them above Texas this week. I know there's been a lot on social media, but I don't think they'll do it personally. We'll have to see that. And then Notre Dame goes to 18. That's pretty respectable, honestly. I think as an Ohio State fan, I want them to do good. So that's good for me. I mean, doesn't matter at this point. We got Michigan, we just got to win. But, yeah. So Notre Dame at 18 is fair. They have 3 losses, is whatever. So Iowa drops down this spot, which is kind of interesting. They're not very good, though, so I can see that. Big Ten West is just – they're bad as crap. So that's probably their best team, which is kind of embarrassing, but, they have really good defense. Offense obviously sucks. And Oregon State at 16. Dropped 5 spots, though, for losing to Washington. I don't know about that, bro. They dropped 5 spots for losing. To a very good team, too. I don't know about that. All right. And then they got number 15, Arizona. Man, Arizona. I mean, what a comeback for them, bro. Arizona at 15 is kind of – I mean, they were, unranked most of the time. So that's really good. LSU at 14. I understand that. I think they have a Heisman contender quarterback. Now, do I think he'll win it? I don't know. He is very skillful, though. He probably could, but if they base it off wins like they usually do, he'll probably not win it, considering they have 3 losses. But, yeah. Crazy to think Arizona's only 1 behind LSU, though, isn't it? That's pretty crazy. Oklahoma at 13. It's not bad, but I don't know. They're not amazing. That's fair for them, I think. I don't think you can put them behind LSU, who has 3 losses. I think they're the start of the 9-2 teams, honestly. Oklahoma's pretty solid. I mean, their quarterback's still really good. They had a tough loss to Texas, and then Oklahoma State, who are probably the 2 best teams in the Big 12. So, yeah. I don't know. It's hard for them, but I think they're fine. And then you got Ole Miss at 9-2. Really? At number 12 though? I don't know. SEC bye kind of goes crazy to me. I don't think Ole Miss is that good. I mean, yeah, I think they're fine, but honestly, I think LSU could probably beat them if they played. I mean, yeah, I think LSU would beat them. So I don't know about that, honestly, but they have 3 losses. Ole Miss has 2, so that's probably why. Penn State at number 11, they go up a spot, so pretty much all the teams went up after they dropped Oregon State that far, which is kind of crazy to me still, but yeah, Penn State, I mean, yeah, they're pretty good, I guess, but I don't know, they're just Penn State, they always go like 10-2. They just beat the teams that aren't Ohio State and Michigan, so they're really good, except when they play Ohio State and Michigan, so I think Penn State at number 11 is pretty respectable, in my opinion. I think they're definitely better than Ole Miss, though. I think I don't know. It's hard. Drew Aller plays like crap against the good teams, but he plays pretty decent. You can't lie. He's decent when they play not amazing teams, so hard to predict there, honestly. I think it's fine, personally, but you could definitely make an argument there. And then, all right, I'm just going to start playing the video now. So it looks like they got Missouri in 9, which is good for them. So yeah, they got Louisville at number 10 after beating Miami by a touchdown last week. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. Yeah, probably can't, but it's right. It's Louisville at number 10 with 1 loss this season. Just beat Miami last week by a touchdown. I think I don't know. I think they can definitely beat Florida State now, and I think even more so now with like Jordan Travis being out and Missouri 9-2. Yeah, they're good, but yeah, I think that's I think they got that right. And then Alabama though at number 8. So they did keep them behind Texas. I knew it, dude. I knew they would because you can't put them in front of Texas. You just can't. So yeah, I think that's fair, and I think that's how it should be, personally. I don't think Alabama deserves to be above Texas. I think they got that right, actually. Yep, there's Texas. So, yeah, I mean, they're both 10-1. Texas and Alabama, both 10-1. I think committee got this right on the dot. I think when the committee ranks teams and stuff, the head-on-head matchup is, like, way more important. You just can't trump that. So, yeah, I think that's pretty good, man. Yeah, I think that's good. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, Texas, honestly, I think they'll probably win the Big 12 this year. I think they should. I mean, they've had a great season. A couple iffy games. They haven't been dominant by any means, but they're definitely not bad, so yeah. And then yeah, I don't know. They put Oregon at number 6. Yeah, I think Oregon's all right at number 6. Yeah, so Oregon at number 6, I think I can get by that. I think they could be ranked way higher. Like, if they're undefeated right now, I think there's definitely an argument for Oregon to be like top 3. I think if they didn't lose to Washington, it's just hard, man. I mean, Bo Nix is a great quarterback so far. He's been playing lights out. I mean, honestly, he hasn't really been talked as much about Heisman, but he could definitely win it, man. I mean, he is really good. And he's just flying right under the radar. So I don't really know about that. Like, I think he is way more deserving than Jaden Daniels because he has arguably one of the best losses out of the country. He's running at very similar numbers. He can run, and he's number 6 in the country and has 1 loss. Jaden Daniels has 3. So I don't know. I think Bo Nix would win it over Jaden Daniels personally. I know Jaden Daniels is playing lights out though, so I don't know. But yeah, I think Bo Nix is. I don't know. I think Bo Nix is more deserving of it, but Oregon's sitting at 6. They might get left out, but if they beat Washington, there's actually a decent chance they get in if they beat Washington, I think. Yeah, I don't think because it'd be a more recent win against the team they lost to, which is like pretty much cancel each other out, so they'd be undefeated essentially. Like you'd be 1-1 against the team, which is like that's good still. So I don't know if all goes normal this week, it'll be. I think it'll be. I'm assuming Georgia's still at number 1. It'll be Ohio State winner. I mean, Ohio State won't win, but Ohio State, Michigan winner, and it'll be probably Washington or Florida State. And then actually, I think Washington might jump Florida State this week. Let's see if it's shown yet. I'm trying to skip a little bit. Sorry. But yeah, I mean, I think the simplest outcome is that. Oh yeah, it definitely has. Okay. So let's see. Oh, okay, I was right. Yeah. So Florida State did actually get them down to 5, and I think that's fair. I mean, they don't have Jordan Travis, their quarterback. That's like Oregon losing Bill Nix, honestly. So Jordan Travis, man, he is a really good player. Kind of sucks to see him go out, honestly, but yeah, I think that's fair, honestly. I mean, Washington's got some pretty solid wins of the season, especially now late into the season. Also, they're playing these good teams a little later. Specifically, Oregon State is good. Because if they were, I don't know, Oregon State's good, but they're still number 16, so it's a quality win. And Oregon, obviously, is 2 spots behind them at number 6. But yeah, I think Washington I think that's a good spot. And then, I don't know. All right, so Florida State's at 5 now. Washington's at 4. I think that's good. I think, Florida State, if they went out, they'll still make it. It's just they're going to have to play Georgia if they do win out, because I'm assuming Georgia went out also. I don't know. It's hard to tell. But, yeah, if they do, they're going to get killed by Georgia. I don't know. I would think they'd match up pretty good against, like, Washington maybe, actually. I'm just looking at these teams, yeah. I think Washington would be their best matchup, but it might be a little hard to get that, honestly. I mean, Keon Coleman is a beast. The other guy, I forget his name right now. The run game is really good. No Jordan Travis really hurts, but, I mean, it was more Alabama last week, but their backup did pretty good. I mean, they still scored 50 on them, so I don't know. I think they'll be fine. I think they just need to push away the controversy and emotions right now. I think they'll be fine. Yeah, so I think that's actually good rankings for now. But, it won't matter. It doesn't matter too much, honestly. But, yeah, I think – all right, so after Washington gets to Michigan, they have a number 3, I believe. Yeah, Michigan number 3. So right now, if the season ended today, Ohio State would be playing Michigan in the playoffs. It's not going to happen though, but like the rankings, they're honestly a little useless. If I'm being honest, like it doesn't matter at this point. Like it does matter a little bit, I guess, for a team like Oregon and Florida State. But like once you get past like I don't know 8, pretty much once you get behind Alabama, it's really not that impact. I don't know. A little. Maybe Miami might come. Nah, Miami's they're pretty decent, but it's all hypothetical. And then so Michigan will be number 3 into the game. And Ohio State will be number 2, baby. Let's go. So if Georgia loses in the championship, I don't think they're gonna move at all. I think the winner will be number 2 of the Ohio State Michigan game. And I think there is still a little scenario where the loser of the Ohio State Michigan game wins, but it's going to be hard, man. They would need teams like Oregon to lose, Florida State maybe picking up a loss in the championship would be big, Texas losing, and Alabama. So I think it still could happen theoretically. Here, let's just talk about that for a sec. So I think Georgia will beat Alabama. That could happen. I think Texas could lose probably in the Big 12 championship, because then they would be – if Texas loses in the Big 12 championship, Ohio State would definitely be, or Michigan. I mean, not Michigan. Michigan would definitely be a better chance because they only have one loss against the number 2 team in the country. So they'd be ahead of Texas. Now, if Oregon loses to Washington in the Pac-12 championship, I think there is a scenario there because if Florida State would have lost, yeah, I think it could be very in reach. I just don't know if it'll happen actually because I don't know. It's gonna be hard for sure. I think this year Ohio State's not gonna make the playoffs if they lose. Like, I'm just saying Ohio State would have a better chance than Michigan of making it because wins, which really aren't playing out for them that well. I mean, I'd say still almost top 10. They're like number 11 or something. So that's still a pretty good win, but I don't know. I don't think Michigan can make it if they lose at all. Like, there's just no questions. Their schedule is actually really bad. Their resume is not good. And I think Ohio State, picking up that roadman at Notre Dame, I mean, in the nighttime, like, Caleb Williams got blown out that game. So, maybe not blown out, but, like, they didn't do very good. Let's just say that. So, I don't know. I think that win still carries out enough to make Ohio State still stay number 2 and possibly could be a factor for them making it if they lose. Like, I don't think they will. I mean, you can see the background, but I actually think Ohio State got it. But that's the next podcast this Saturday. So if you want to see that, stay tuned until Saturday. We'll try to get it out before the game this week. It might be like late Friday night, early Saturday morning when we post it. Last week we were kind of experimenting, so yeah, we'll try to get that video as fast as we can. But yeah, that's just a little teaser. I think Ohio State got it. Yeah, I think Ohio State got the dub. So Georgia at number 1 still. They're definitely a good team. Carson Beck, I mean, he's playing amazing right now. He's playing lights out, to be honest. Like, they were doing good without Brock Bowers. Sorry. So, like, that shows you how, I don't know. Georgia doesn't necessarily have the talent as, like, an Ohio State or a Washington or Michigan or Oregon even. They're still very talented, but every year they lose people, and yet they still are consistently number 1 or number 2 in the country. So, Georgia's good, man. Georgia's really good. I definitely think that they could I definitely think they could lose to a team. And honestly, if you're thinking about it, I think Ohio State matches up pretty well against them. I just think Ohio State, their offense is amazing. Their defense isn't amazing either, though. I mean, sorry, I said that word. The offense isn't, like, perfect, but they're still good. I mean, Marvin Harrison Jr. is him. And then best receiver, probably best player, most impactful player. I don't know best player, most impactful player. I'll say that. And then we might talk about Heisman stuff on the podcast also. So Marvin Harrison will be involved in that. And then yeah, so I think these rankings are pretty good. Not a ton of, like, impactful changes necessarily. I think Georgia at number 1 is right. Ohio State, Michigan doesn't matter really, but it's so good to see where we'll be going into the game, yes sir. And then Washington, big change is Washington jumping Florida State, which I think is respectable, but yeah. So if the playoffs were to happen right now, it would probably be Ohio State Georgia rematch in the championship, which last year's championship was Ohio State Georgia, but yeah. So I think the committee got at least the top 6 right for sure. I don't really think dropping Oregon State by 5 rankings. I don't think they deserve that, honestly. I mean, they lost by 2 points to the number 4 team in the country. in really bad conditions. Maybe that helped them a little bit. The conditions, it was rainy, it was wet. I mean, Michael Penix was still slinging it, though. He's in the Heisman race, too, by the way. Forgot to say his name. But, yeah, he's definitely up there. Yeah, you know, DJU, he made a couple. He definitely made some good throws, but, you know, at the end of the day, it just came up to which quarterback is more clutch. And Michael Penix is more clutch. I mean, third down to steal the game, and he throws a perfect pass to Dooms or whatever his name is. I don't pay much attention to Washington, but I mean, yeah, that's about as clutch as he gets for sealing the game. So I think he deserves that. I would say he's more deserving of it than like Jaden Daniels for sure. But yeah, so if you're just joining, rankings are Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, Washington, and yeah, so Washington dumped Florida State, so now Florida State's number 5, and Oregon's still number 6. And another thing I'm talking about right now is Oregon State dropping 5 rankings for losing to top 4 now Washington team. So I don't know about that, man. I really don't. I think it might be a little too much, actually. Yeah. So, yeah. All right, so now they're talking about some scenarios real quick. Let's see them. So, they got resume comparisons going. Or at least they did. Sorry. I'm trying to just kind of skim through real quick. All right, let's look at what their chaos scenarios are right now. So, well, this is tough, actually. So they would have Alabama beating Georgia, and then they would have Michigan beating Ohio State. Not gonna happen. And then they would win the Big Ten championship. Not gonna happen either. And then Florida State, Texas, and Oregon would all win their championship. So I don't know. That's actually tough. So I think loser of Ohio State, Michigan, aka Michigan, I think they don't have a chance because you can't have a loss and also not win the championship. They're out. Winner though is in for sure. Undefeated, win the championship. Yeah, you're in. It also gets a little crazy. I think if Georgia loses, a Michigan or Ohio State, probably Ohio State because you're gonna win. But I'm just joking. Sorry, I keep talking about it. I can't help it, bro. But yes, the winner would go to number 1. I think if Georgia loses, you can't put a undefeated Ohio State or Michigan with a championship below one loss Georgia who didn't win the championship. So yeah, and then Florida State, Texas, and Oregon would all win their conference championships. So that would mean Washington would lose also. And I think what would happen there is that Florida State would get it. I don't know, it's tough. I think Florida State could get it, actually. I think Oregon would honestly be a lock. I think they would. Because they would have beat number 4 team in the championship, won their championship. And I don't know. I think in that case, I think it would be Ohio State or Michigan, probably Ohio State. And then it's tough, man. I think you would put Oregon at number 2, maybe. I don't know. I actually don't know that because I don't know. Bo Nix is amazing, and I think if they avenge their loss in the championship game, their only loss, by the way, against a top 4 team, I think you got to give it to Oregon. I think you got to put them in that situation. So Oregon's in. Ohio State, Michigan's in. And now we got – so Texas would still win out, and Alabama would win out, they're saying. So in that situation, still, Texas can't go Alabama can't go over Texas. I don't care. Even if they have the best win, you can't put the head-to-head. You can't value that less than a win against another team. Like, you can't just say Ohio State beats Notre Dame in week 4 or whatever it was, and then they're now ranked, Notre Dame's ranked behind Ohio State. So, but they're playing better recently, so they put them ahead of you. What? Do you hear yourself? That makes no sense. You can't do that. I don't care. I do not care. And, in this situation, there's still a chance that committee puts Texas and Alabama over Florida State. Over Florida State, which I don't think they could do that, honestly. So, in this situation, I still think Georgia will be like a number 4 seed, honestly. So, I think it would be Ohio State / Michigan at number 1. Number 2 would be Oregon, I think, if they went out and beat Washington and therefore win the championship. I think I don't know. Number 3 is like a wild card, I think, in this situation. Because Georgia would still be – they've still been dominant all season. And, they have the potential to easily win a championship. That defense and offense is really good, man. But I think you put them at number 4. I think that's fair. Personally, I think that's fair. I don't think you drop them out of the playoffs necessarily. It's tough, though, because what would you do if Florida State and Texas went out and Alabama? That's 3 teams. Florida State would be undefeated. So I think in that case I think Florida State makes the playoffs. Now, do I think they're the best team? Do I think Alabama and Texas are probably better than them? Yeah, I do. But at the end of the day, they won every single game. And also they proved that they can win against pretty decent teams with a backup. So, in that situation, I think you've got to put Florida State in. Because, you just can't. You can't do that to Florida State. You can't win out your whole season and win your conference championship, and then not put them in. You just can't do that, especially against a team that already lost the game. You can't. I don't know. It's tough, man. I hope that doesn't happen, honestly. That scenario is tough for the committee. And no matter who you say goes in, Alabama fans are going to be so mad. Texas fans might be a little mad. I don't know. So in that situation, if you're just running, it'd be Alabama wins out and beats Georgia, and then Ohio State, Michigan winner wins out. Florida State, Texas, Oregon winner wins out. So Florida State, Texas, and Oregon win out. So I think in that situation, it goes Ohio State or Michigan at number 1. I think by then, especially if it's Ohio State, I think they've proven enough. That's like 4 ranked wins over pretty good teams, especially including Michigan, at Notre Dame, Penn State, and then Iowa. I think you're number 1 in the country with that. You have arguably the second best win in this scenario, because Alabama would beat Georgia. Second best win, and then some also really solid wins. I think you're number 1. Number 2, I think you put Oregon. I think you put Oregon because they would have just won the championship. Yeah, and they just beat the team that they lost to. So, I think you put Oregon in that. And then number 3, I think you would put Florida State. And number 4, I think you put Georgia. I think that's how it would happen. Honestly, do. I think that's how it should happen, personally. Because, that's how it would have to play out, I think. And I know it's crazy, but Alabama would get left out after beating Georgia. It's just hard because you can't. Do I think Texas is better than Georgia? No. But it's like you can't put Texas. So here's what I'm thinking right now. You have to think about it like this. Texas and Alabama, if they went out, Alabama is always one behind Texas. So really, Alabama's fate relies on Texas. If they make the playoffs or not, that would mean Texas would have to be number 3. And do I see that happening? No, I don't. I think Georgia would kill them. And that's just what I think. So I don't think you can put Texas above Georgia. And therefore, I don't think you can put Alabama above Georgia, even though they just beat them. Now, that's what I think would happen. That's what I think should happen. Here's what probably will happen. Texas gets jumped by Alabama. I don't think that should happen. I don't think that should happen, but it probably will. Because you have to respect it. I mean, it's hard. But you have to respect that win still. So I think Alabama would jump Texas. And therefore, I think by that situation, Alabama would be like number 6-ish, Texas number 5, and then I don't know. Washington, I don't know how far they would drop, but considering they're only number 4 right now, I think they would drop pretty far. I think they would be like a number 7, number 8. So I think the rankings after that would go like what I think will happen if this happens, all this stuff happens, which it probably won't, let's be honest. Probably won't. But it's all speculation, but let's just say. So I think it would be, let's see, Ohio State, Michigan, and then Oregon, I think. And then I think Florida State gets in at number 3 because they're undefeated still with their conference. And I think number 4 would be dude, it's hard as crap. Because now, do you think they put out Florida State for Georgia? You think they drop? Dude, I don't know. This is tough, man. I think you could go so many ways with this. Because I don't think. Do you think they would really drop Georgia out of the playoffs if they lose for Alabama? I mean they probably could, but like in that situation, I think you would have to take out Oregon maybe and not put them in after they just beat the team they lost to, and when their conference. Dude, that's hard. That's actually hard as crap. I don't think this will all happen. Do I think Alabama beats Georgia? No. Do I think Michigan defeats Ohio State in the first place? No. But I do think the winner of that game will win the Big Ten championship. So that's kind of like a slash right there until November 25th, probably around 3:30 when fate is decided, and one team is probably out of the playoffs. And then Florida State, Texas, and Oregon. So they would all win their conference, but Texas and Oregon would have a loss still. That's where it comes in tricky because I don't know. If anybody is watching this over again sometime, let me know what you think. There's so many ways you could go with this. I just don't know. I know a lock. The locks for sure. They have to be winner of Ohio State, Michigan, and they have to be. I think if Florida State wins out, I think they're a lock, which is kind of crazy, but I think they have to be. I think they would fall to the number 4 if everybody wins out right now. It would be Georgia, Ohio State, Washington, and Florida. Washington and Florida State, and I think like a Michigan or something would get number 5 maybe. So I don't know. It all comes down to this weekend, man. This is why college football is amazing. This is why. NFL, you just don't get this type of anticipation, You already know, like, what teams are going to make it. And this is why I love college football, man. It's so much better than NFL. I don't care what you say, by the way. Like, it is just better. It's way better. Yeah, I think college football is way better than NFL. I mean, the rivalries, first of all, let's just take a moment to recognize how big the Ohio State game is real quick. Ohio State, if Ryan Day loses again to a team that's not cheating, keep in mind, they lost to a team that cheated 2 years in a row. Take those out. But if Ryan Day loses a third time, it's bad for him, man. He's not going to get fired, in my opinion, but it's bad. It's a bad look. As an Ohio State fan, I'll say it's a bad look. And if Michigan loses, then their 2 years of happiness, or so-called happiness, might get taken back, but Ohio State will still technically own Michigan if they lose today. If they lose this Saturday, because they still wouldn't have beat us since 2011 or something. I'd assume those cheating wins would get vacated personally, but who knows? Who knows about that crap? All that matters is who's winning this week, and I think I've been watching some Ryan Day interviews and stuff. He seems very collected, not necessarily calm. I think he's calm and collected, but you can tell, man. I think in the press conference he's trying to show that he's a little calm and stuff, but you already know on the field he's trying to hype up his guys, man. But this rivalry game is going to be crazy. 2 versus 3 in the big house. Ohio State coming to town. You already know there's going to be fights. If there's not over 5 fights, is it really that good of a game? I mean, come on. But yeah, it's crazy, man. The stakes, with the cheating and the obviously Ryan Day stuff, and Jim Harbaugh still hasn't really beat us unless he wins. Yeah, I don't know. There's just gonna be all sorts of excuses. That at least for Michigan there will be if they lose. But if Ohio State loses, that's going to be tough, man. I think the game relies on a few factors that I'll say in the podcast later this week. But, I think it can go either way. I do. And here, I'm just going to say one more thing about this game. The game, I mean. Last time Ohio State was underdogs against Michigan was 2018. And I don't know if you remember that year. Number 4 versus number 10, Michigan came into the shoe and got beat bad. Let's just say they got beat by probably 20-something. I think it was 62 to – it's some weird score. It's 62 to 29 or something. It was bad. And also, Ohio State struggled against Michigan last year – or against Maryland before playing Michigan last year. Guess what happened? We lost. Michigan struggled against Maryland this year. Guess what will happen? That's what I'm going to say. That stuff doesn't matter, but, yeah. There's definitely a lot of stuff I want to say right now, but I'm not going to because I want to wait. But, God, this game is going to be amazing, man. That's all I can think about right now, especially as an Ohio State fan. It's going to be good. So let's see if they have any other stuff to talk about. Wow, theirs looks way different. Wow. Okay. Yeah, actually, yeah, I'm going to look at their chaos scenario for that. So they would have Michigan/Ohio State. Doesn't really matter. They would have them at number 1, which I agree on. They have Florida State at number 2. I think that's reasonable. They'd be undefeated, win their championship. How much more can you do, really? Then they have Alabama. God, it's hard. Do you think Georgia would really? So they have Georgia dropping all the way down from 1 to 6th place, 6th in the rankings. I don't know. Oh, that's tough, man. So they would have Alabama jumping 2 spots over Texas. I can't see that happening. I mean, I can see it happening. I don't think it should happen. Yeah, I think Washington would be out for sure. Loser of the game would be out in that scenario, I think. I don't know. I just don't agree really with anything else besides Michigan, Florida State, and I guess Ohio State if they lose. But yeah. Michigan is pretty much like Ohio State though, because Ohio State's probably gonna win. Okay. Yeah, you can watch that show if you want. I personally don't agree with it, but who knows? All right, so let's see. They got a resume comparison. That'll be good to see. Wait, I just lost it. Sorry. Wait, here it is. All right, so strength of record would be. So strength of record right now for Oregon would be 9th, Texas would be 6th, and Alabama would be 7th. And all right, so Texas probably has the best schedule right now over Oregon and Alabama. I mean, Oregon's strength of schedule is really weak, honestly. Texas is first, Alabama second at 28. Texas is 9th. Oregon's wins though are really not that good when you look at them. Their best wins are USC, who's unranked by the way. They have like 4 losses. That's not a good win at all, really, in my eyes. And then Utah, at Utah. I mean, they killed them, but still, really. I mean, I just don't think you can. And here's the crazy thing, man. Oregon has these mediocre wins at best. I mean, Utah's good, but like they didn't have Cam Rising either, so it's not really a good win. And then, I don't know. Those are just not good wins. And yet those same people will still say that at Notre Dame in the night game is a bad win, and then Penn State is a bad win, which is crazy to me. Like, now that I'm looking at this, Ohio State probably has the best pair of wins out of those 3 teams. In my eyes. I think Notre Dame is better than Kansas State. They're ranked higher. And then Alabama's probably a little better than Penn State. I mean, they are better for sure, but ranking-wise, they're only 3 below. So, I don't know. Texas actually has a pretty good strength of schedule. Theirs might be a little – their key wins might be a little better. But also, that's not including Michigan for Ohio State. So, if it's Michigan, though, it's a different story. It still could be close in my eyes, but in my opinion, I think so. And then Alabama, man. LSU, Ole Miss, and that's their key wins. So, I don't know. I really don't think yeah, I think Ohio State would probably definitely have an argument, especially if they beat Michigan to have better rankings or better records or whatever. So, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I just think I don't know, man. It's hard to predict, honestly, what will happen, in my opinion. This season could go so many ways right now. It's actually kind of crazy. Like, you just don't know which way it'll go. So, I don't know. It's pretty hard, man. It's hard to predict, but honestly, that kind of makes it fun, in a way. I think that adds a lot of, what that does? Well, first of all, it adds pressure to the Ohio State-Michigan game, if we're being honest. Like, it really does. I mean, that game is like a playoff game. I don't think people realize that necessarily. Some people probably don't, but there could definitely be a case for this to be the best game, Ohio State-Michigan game of the probably past 2 decades. Now think about it. I mean, you have the 2006 game. I don't know. That game is probably a little better. Just like, it is probably better. But yeah, I think this is probably the second. And, I think it'll be a really good game. I'm not too confident in Ohio State to win. I'm not too confident in Michigan to win either. Being at Ann Arbor makes it a lot harder, certainly, for Ohio State. A lot easier for Michigan. But no Jim Harbaugh for Michigan. Ryan Day has a ton of pressure to beat Michigan. It'll be a good game, man. We'll talk about that more later, but yeah, I can't say it enough. Like, you need to watch that game. It'll be one of the best games, I think. It's probably the best game of the season. I think Ohio State Michigan, the football game at least, is not just the best rivalry in college football. I think it's the best rivalry in all sports, including NFL, including different college sports and basketball and all that stuff. I think Ohio State versus Michigan in football, especially in recent years, is the best rivalry of all time. And I don't think there's really debating that. I mean, how can you? I just don't think. I think it's the best rivalry. It's always a good game, at least going into it. Ohio State sometimes recently has kind of been, let's just say, giving Michigan a couple L's toward the end of the season. But records don't even matter that much with them because they just hate each other so much. The second that clock hits 0, the loser and winner really are thinking of the next game. And it's crazy. They just think about them all year. They hate each other. There's always fighting. I mean, there's some iconic poses. I don't really want to talk about that right now, but it's a crazy game, man. Environment is always amazing. It's just really fun to watch, man. And yeah. So rankings again. Let's go over it again. You got Georgia at 1, Ohio State 2, Michigan 3, Washington 4, Florida State 5, Oregon 6. Those are kind of the ones that matter. And then Alabama still number 8 behind Texas. Overall, I don't think you could really change much besides maybe Oregon State maybe dropping a little less, in my opinion. And then, I don't know. I think they did a good decision by making Florida State go behind Washington. Other than that, I mean, there wasn't any really huge upsets, I guess. Oh, yeah, by the way, Auburn, man. Sheesh. These are New Mexico State. Holy crap. They paid him, I don't know if you saw this. They paid more than Alabama paid Chattanooga to beat them. And they paid like Chattanooga like $600K to play them, to play Alabama. And then they paid New Mexico State like $1 million to play Auburn. And they lost. Which, by the way, SEC teams playing those crap teams right before rivalry week is crazy to me. That is just like, I'm telling you, these things that the SEC gets away with that nobody ever talks about, and it drives me insane. But yeah, so, but it's just a harder schedule, the teams are better. Like, shut up, dude. God, just shut up. Like, your teams are not that good, bro. You're telling me that Vanderbilt would be like, I don't know, Indiana? I don't know. I don't think so, buddy. Like, our worst teams are still probably pretty even with you. Probably better, actually. I think they're better for sure. And then our better teams are probably better than yours overall. I'll just be honest. I don't know. The most annoying thing for me is just the bias, though, for SEC. But, I think committee got it right. I think, yeah. Overall, it doesn't matter too much. I really don't think it matters a ton, but mainly I think the biggest thing is Florida State going behind Washington, because if every team wins out that's in the top 5 right now, then instead of playing like probably in Ohio State, Florida State would have to play Georgia. Which, if you're a Florida State fan, you're probably happy you make the playoffs, but who knows? I'm not trying to say anything. Florida State could probably beat Georgia, but it's going to be really hard if it did come to that. So, but yeah, I mean, if anybody watched this during it or going to watch it, thanks for watching. I know I got a little repetitive at times. I'm sorry about that, but that's just how I think, just my opinions on stuff. And yeah, I think it was good. I think the committee got most of the stuff right. And next time I'll be talking to you guys, Ohio State versus Michigan will be starting, baby. It'll be a good game. And I just want to say thanks to everybody who's been watching the videos, even just watching the videos, man. Thank you. I really mean that, actually. And then, especially if you liked it and subscribed, thank you. And yeah, I mean, if anybody tuned in, thanks for tuning in. I know I'm not very good at live streaming yet, but it was fun. I mean, I liked it. I enjoyed it. So yeah. So until Saturday, I'll see everybody. If you watched or are going to watch it, thank you. Thanks for everybody leaving likes. Yeah, so it was fun. Thank you. Bye.